Hello everyone. Let's see the demo of MCP server which we are going to create in this video. So it's fitness and workout tracking app and user can create their workout routine. So which exercise and how many sets and reps to do for each exercise every day, and then they can log their workout history. So how much weight they lifted, how much reps they did and how many sets, all history will be logged. And here user can also log their daily body weight and calories, so how much they ate. And it also has these charts to show them the history of their weight and calories. And here they can keep daily journal and also keep track of supplements which they are taking every day. Okay, so now let's see how our MCP server works. I'll go to chatgpt and create a new app. We will have to enter our MCP server name, description, and the connection URL for MCP server. So it's hosted on Vercel, so it will use the Vercel URL here. And for authentication, it will automatically detect settings for OAuth because our server has auto discovery feature which will automatically give all the details to ChatGPT for auth URL, redirect URL, and tokens, client token, and all secrets and things. So we don't need to do anything. I'll just hit create. Now it's asking for sign in. So it will open up Google login with Google screen, and I'll use same account which I showed you in the app. So this is demo account. Okay, now this user is connected with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can make tool calls to our app with MCP server. So I asked it about my weekly summary of fitness. It made a tool call get weekly summary and it's giving me all the data. And in the last line, it's asking me if I want to compare it to last week. So I will say it yes, compare it to last week. Again, it made a tool call to get previous week's summary and now it's doing the comparison here. So I'll ask it about my calories and weight for previous 6 months. Let's see. Again, it's doing the tool call to get the data and it generated the answer based on that data. Now this data is same from the app. This user has same data on the app which is being shown here as well. So I'll ask it what supplements I took today. So for today there are no supplements. So it says there is no data for today, and it's asking me if I want to add something to it today. So I will ask it to add these supplements, and I will also add a note about my workout today. So it should be added to journal. So it made a tool call to log journal entry, and let's reopen the app and see if it gets added. So here it is. So for today, July 4th, there is no weight in here as you can see in the app. So I'll say to ChatGPT, my today's weight is blah blah. Now I'll reopen the app and check again if weight is added. So as you can see, it's added here in the journal and in here as well. And last, I will ask about my workout routine and it's giving me all this info, which is exactly like shown in the mobile app. So now let's try to use same MCP server with Cloud. So again, same thing, just enter the MCP server URL, give its name, and here we don't have description, so I'll just add the description to the name. and then click add. Now again it's login with Google. I'll use same account, and our MCP is connected with Cloud now. So same question, what workout routine I am following. So again it's showing me lower, upper, lower workout split, and it's same like as in the app. All the exercises name are same. So now I will ask it how much calories did I consume every day this week. Giving me this error, but if I click multiple times then it works. There is some issue with Cloud. So here it is my calorie consumption for all the days Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and for today it has no data, so it shows no data logged for July 4. So let's start building our MCP server. I'm going to be using this prompt on anti-gravity. You can go with Codex or Cloud, both should work. So let's go through this prompt. Create MCP server for this app which can be hosted on Vercel. Now there will be some difference in code and architecture depending on where you want to host your MCP server, but more on that later. So this server acts as a gym workout and nutritional tracking companion. It will be used on ChatGPT and uses Google OAuth to sign in the user. So this gives AI coding agent some context on how MCP server will be used. And also I asked it to use Google OAuth because in the app user can log in with Google and then explore the app interface and figure out which tools will be most useful for users. So I'll let it figure out what tools to implement based on app interface. So it will check out the whole code base and it will do its thing. It's not always the best idea. You might want to define exactly what tools you want to create, but this is fairly simple app, so I'll just go with this. And then data shared on MCP must be always like shown in the app, and there shouldn't be any differences. So we want the data to be consistent, not like it shows the kg in the app and on ChatGPT or MCP client, MCP server returns the weight in pounds. And make sure to keep in mind users time zone as well. So now time zone is edge case for this app. Not all MCP server needs it, but this app has users in multiple countries. So it's necessary that we handle it. So if your app uses time, then you might want to consider it. I know about this time zone edge case because before this I have already created multiple apps and MCP servers. If you get time zone issues, then you can always fix them later. So it has created this implementation plan, and I recommend that you review things even if you are just vibe coding. So firstly, it needs client ID and client secret for Google OAuth. So I will grab it from Google Cloud Console and give it here. So it's for login with Google functionality. And secondly, it needs JSON file for Firebase service account key, and this you can get from your Firebase console, and it will be used to interact with Firebase and the database. And the web version of this project is already hosted on Vercel, so it's just warning saying that it will be creating another Next.js project in MCP server directory to create our MCP server, and it will also make another vercel.json file, so it will be hosted separately. It has created this architecture diagram. So ChatGPT or MCP client will interact with Vercel, where our MCP server is hosted, and our MCP server will have login with Google functionality, so Google OAuth, and it will also interact with Firebase via Firebase Admin SDK. And these are all the MCP tools which will be created for our MCP server. So it's basically all the functionality of the app which we can access via MCP client from MCP server, which is being created here. So for example, first tool is get daily summary, which returns the workouts or the sets for the workout completed today, along with the weight lifted and how many reps or sets was performed by user. Then it has weight logged, so it's the body weight of the user, and calories also for how much he ate, and journal and supplements taken. So yeah, this is basically if user doesn't want to open app, then he can just ask ChatGPT that, hey ChatGPT, give me my fitness daily summary. So it will be returning all this information. So I am not going to go through all these tools, but it's pretty simple. It's basically all the functionality of the app which is available as MCP tool. So MCP client can call that tool and get the information or perform any action or update the database as well. So one thing I notice here is that each tool is accepting time zone as an argument. Now, instead of doing that, I think app already has users time zone in the settings, so it is stored in the database. So I'll just ask it, instead of accepting time zone in each tool, use time zone stored in users setting. All right, it has completed these things, and in the remaining section we have some small issue with time zone, and then we need to deploy it to Vercel, and then on Google Cloud Console we will need to configure the redirect URI for login with Google, and then we can connect the MCP server to the ChatGPT, the MCP client. So the issue with time zone is that our app doesn't store the user's time zone in the database. So we will need to have ChatGPT send the time zone with each tool call to our MCP server. So I am running this prompt to fix the time zone issue and also deploy our MCP server on Vercel via Vercel CLI, which is already configured on my system. Looks like it has deployed our MCP server on Vercel, and it has given this endpoint for our MCP server's URL. Now let's add it to ChatGPT. So if you want to add any MCP server to ChatGPT, you open the settings and then go to apps and then advanced settings and then enable developer mode and then create new app. So here you can add your own MCP server. Now this name and description, you can just ask your AI coding agent to generate it, or you can write it yourself. it will be used by ChatGPT in order to decide when to use this MCP server. So it's giving me this error regarding OAuth configuration. So I'll just screenshot it and give it to our AI coding agent. Okay, so it has fixed the issue and now it's asking me to put this callback URL on my Google Cloud Console. So let me do that. Now let's try again to add our MCP server on ChatGPT. So this time it's automatically detecting everything. The scope, client ID, callback URL, all is detected automatically. We will discuss more about how OAuth works later in the video. But for now, let's test this. So log in with Google and then I'll ask it what's my weekly summary of fitness. And as you can see, it's calling this MCP server tool to get weekly summary and it's correctly passing the time zone as well as the weekly offset as MCP server tool argument. And then MCP server will return some data and the chat GPT will process that data using GPT-5 LLM and then we have our response here. So I'm not going to go through whole demo again. So if you want to see the demo again for using MCP server, how it works, you can just jump to the start of this video and check it out. It's being used with ChatGPT and Cloud as well. So let's understand the code now. And this is the most important package here. So if you are using any other programming language, you can just open this website and this is package from Anthropic itself. So they created the MCP protocol and we are using their package to create MCP server, and you can also use this package to build MCP client as well. So yeah, ChatGPT does this part and we did this part in our video. So let's say you are using some other language like Python, then you can just use this Python SDK for your project and most of the functionality are same. So for example, we are going to use this tool in TypeScript as well. So let's understand that now. So our coding agent has created this new folder which contains MCP server. So it's basically a Next.js project. So let's see the most important part where tools are being created for our MCP server. So this method receives the object of this MCP server class, which is from this SDK from Anthropic. We just opened their page, right? Just before this. So in this server object, we call .tool method to create a new tool for our MCP server. Now first argument is tool name and second argument is tool description. And these both are very important because this description and name will be used by MCP client, for example, ChatGPT or Cloud. It will be used by them to decide when to use this tool. And the third argument is this one. It's the parameters which this tool accepts and it also has the time zones. So these both parameters will be given by ChatGPT in our case. And third argument to this dot tool method is actual function which does the work, or which can take the data from database and return to ChatGPT or MCP client, or it can also perform any actions or update the database as well. So all that will be done here. And it receives two arguments. First one is the data which MCP client has sent, so these two here. And second argument is extra, it contains the information about authentication, so it's extra is being used to get the user here. And as you can see, this is the logic to get the wait logs for this user. This user ID is being passed to Firestore. And then after receiving the data from Firestore, we just create this content and we just return this information as a text data itself. And we don't pass any JSON or something because LLMs understands the text, right? You don't have to format them. So yeah, all these details will be passed. So type text and then text again. So it will be basically lines of all the data we want to send back to the MCP client. Now let's talk about this package. It's from Vercel and it helps us to host MCP server on Vercel using Next.js. So it's very simple. You can just check the code here. I'm not going to go into details, but let's say if we weren't using Vercel here, then it might have created Express.js server. If I asked it instead of using Vercel, if I asked it to use VPS, then it might have created Express.js server to host this MCP server using this package only. So this is the main package, and this is just to make it host on Vercel. So we can host this MCP server on a VPS or Amazon Lambda or Cloudflare Workers. Pretty much anywhere you can host a backend, you can host the MCP server as well. So yeah, there are many possibilities. In this case, we are using Vercel because this app already uses Vercel to host the web version of the mobile app. So this is how authentication works in our MCP server. So our MCP server implements its own OAuth 2.0 authentication server. So each request for authentication will go through our server to Google. It's not ChatGPT directly going to Google. So yeah, when user signs in, it will be redirect to our server, then our server will redirect that to Google, and then sign in code will be given to our server, then it will be passed on to ChatGPT. Again, when ChatGPT needs access token for that code, then it will go through our server and our server will get the access token from Google, and then it will pass back to ChatGPT. So finally ChatGPT has access token, so user is signed in. Now this might be difficult for you to understand if you don't understand how OAuth works. And this register route is for dynamic client registration, so we don't have to enter client ID and redirect URIs on ChatGPT interface. We just have to give our MCP servers endpoint, and then everything will be configured automatically, and it's using this for that as well. The well known, these things are being used for that. So to understand this, you should understand how OAuth works, how OAuth server works. And this is not a topic for this video. And last thing I will mention is that make sure you review your code for security, because MCP servers can be used to make attacks on your apps as well. So yeah, that's it for this video, and stay tuned for more.